RM Sotheby's is the world's largest collector car auction house by total sales. They are the preeminent market maker of high-quality collector cars and collections, regardless of size or complexity. By working in partnership with the Sotheby's team and its network of 80 offices in 40 countries, RM Sotheby's has established the largest client network of any collector car auction house in the world. Join the RM Sotheby's family by connecting with one of their car specialists at rmsotheby's.com or contact me directly at gstanley@rmsotheby's.com. LLC TLC is here to save you money on all of your vehicle purchases. LLC TLC will permanently register your classic cars in Montana to avoid any annual renewal fees. As your registered agent, they will handle everything for you so you never have to step foot in Montana. And as a listener of this podcast, LLC TLC is offering 30% off your entire package. Simply go to llctlc.com/classic or mention this podcast when you contact LLC TLC directly. All right, welcome to the Collector Car Podcast. Thanks for joining me this week. This week it is all about Porsches, and I have not talked about Porsches in quite a while. But before we get to that, a couple quick announcements. The Monterey auction is closed for consignments, so no chance to get any more cars into that. There's some amazing cars coming to Monterey. Just check out RM Sotheby's website, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, if you do have cars you are interested in either private sale or Hershey, be sure to reach out to our car specialist at rmsotheby's.com, or you can reach me directly at gstanley@rmsotheby's.com. Now, a couple other things before I jump in. One thing I am doing, which I'll just mention it to you guys because it's kind of a car that's somewhat hidden. I'm not too worried about it, but I am chasing this car. Let's see if you can see it online. If you can't tell in the picture, it's a pink Mustang. 1967 pink Mustang convertible. It's in barn find shape. Big 390 V8 4-speed car, convertible, Playboy pink, which is pretty cool. It's not actually a Playboy pink car. Those were only for 65 and 69, I believe, but it's the same Playboy pink paint code, which is pretty cool. So stay tuned for that. I'm still waiting to hear back when I will take the 65 Mustang Fastback to Jay Leno's garage. So wait around a little bit more for that. And as I'm talking, a week from this Saturday, the 1966 Pontiac GTO that was on Jay Leno's garage will be at the Pontiac Nationals up in Norwalk, Ohio, at the raceway there. So if you want to see it and check it out and pick up some of the poker chips, just say hello to me at the big Pontiac Nationals in Norwalk, Ohio. All right, before we get started here, I have pulled a bunch of data about Porsches, as you can imagine. Now, there's not a lot of good sources out there for data, so Haggerty does a pretty good job. What I'm disappointed is I used to be able to do 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 11 year, 10 year, whatever. Now it's only 1 year, so I cannot do the big pull that I used to do, which I really, really enjoyed doing, and that's kind of disappointing. So let me flip to a Porsche here so we can see one on the screen. So what's interesting is I pulled information for 35 Porsches, and this goes all across all generations, multiple body styles. I try to keep it fairly consistent. So if I picked Porsche 917, I'm sorry, not a Porsche 917, Porsche 914, I try to pick, let's check out what the 2 liters like as well as the 6 liter. Anyways, a lot of good stuff here. Like I said, 35 cars. The quick breakdown here is from how many were negative over the last 12 months from a valuation perspective. This was really, really shocking to me. Only 3. There were only 3 cars that were negative as it relates to valuation in the last 12 months. Now, the one you're looking at on screen is one of those cars, 2001 Porsche 911 Turbo. Number 1 condition, it is $113. Now, that is down 9.6%. Now, what also I want to say is I could not always find the exact picture for the car that I am talking about. So if it's slightly different, if it's off by a year, please forgive me. I just could not pull every single one. All right, the next car we're going to talk about here is a 2012, which is surprising to me, Porsche 911 GT2. Now, the one I'm showing online is the GT2 RS, absolutely stunning, beautiful 911. Now, for the latest 12 months, it is down 7.7%, $350,000 in number 1 condition. Now, the other thing that's interesting as far as Our third car, all of these are within a 13-year time frame. So the third car, one very close to my heart, the 1999 Porsche 911 Carrera, the base car, so first year of the liquid-cooled, not water-cooled because it's not actually water. Number one condition, $59,000, and it is down 6.3%. So like I said, three of the 38 were negative. That's only 7.9%. Now, what's interesting is we had a lot of cars that were flat. So 10 of the 38 were flat. And then what's very interesting, 25 of these cars, these Porsches I picked, were actually up significantly over the last 12 months. So you hear there's a recession or potentials of a recession. All the big worrying, everybody worrying about what the collector car market is doing right now. And Porsches really have bucked the trend. So stay tuned for that. There's actually 11 cars that are up double digits. So I'm going to go from the biggest change from a negative perspective to the biggest change to a positive perspective. All right, so the next car, I'm just going to run down a handful of these ones that did not move at all. So the one I have on right now is a 2012 Porsche Boxster Spyder. That was flat. Others ones that have been flat, 1991 Porsche 944 S2, 1988 Porsche 924S, 1979 Porsche 924S, all of those are flat. The Porsche 914 1.8 is flat. You'll see here in a bit the 2.0 liter is actually up a little bit. The early cars, the 1953 Porsche 356 is flat. And then from a couple newer cars, 2012 Porsche Cayman S is flat as well. And then we have to talk about the big cars because this is pretty fascinating. The Porsche 918 Spyder, not the Weissach, but the Spyder, that one is flat. Now I'm just going to go ahead and jump over to the Weissach while we're talking about 918s. So for the base car, number one condition, $1.95 million. Now if we go to the Weissach package, just having the Weissach package increases that value to $2.7 million, $800,000 approximately more if you had the Weissach package, which is really insane. And that is up 20% the latest 12 months. Now stay tuned the next 2 weeks. Have some interesting guests. I'm actually ahead of the game right now. Next week is Phil Richter, and he does talk about, a little bit about why the Weissachs have gone up more than the standard 918. And then the year after that, not that collectible of a car, but pretty cool. I got a ride in a 1977 Pontiac Trans Am, but the key is that it's totally unrestored, all original, and the original owner still has it, and it has less than 9,000 miles, so that was quite a time capsule to behold. All right, let's get back to a couple of the cars that are flat. This one really surprised me. The 2016 Porsche 911R. Now, these did rocket up in value immediately once they were launched. I think what's affecting this car, they're fabulous cars, wonderful cars, one of the best 911s ever built. I believe what's affecting this, though, is there's so many special packages out there. Like we just had the ST released, we had the Dakar release, we had the Classic release, GT2, GT2 RS, GT3, GT3 RS, GT3 Touring. There's just so many high-end driver-focused, some manual transmission cars that I think that's affecting the 911R. They're just plateaued. I don't think they're necessarily going to go down, but they have plateaued. So in number one condition, that's 610,000 miles. Now the pictures you're seeing online, if you're watching on YouTube, these are from RM Sotheby's. So as always, a big thanks to them. All right, believe it or not, next we're going back to one of the original Ferraris way back in the day, one of the jewels of Porsche, I'm sorry, I said Ferrari, Porsche heritage here, is the 1955 Porsche 550 Spyder. Now, number one condition, this is worth $5.4 million, which is really shocking when you see them in person because there's not a lot to these cars. And they are up 8% for the latest 12 months. That is very interesting. And then we also have to look at the 2004 Porsche Carrera GT. It's probably the same for the later iterations. Number one condition, $1.85 million, and that's up 8.8%. I do know that colors make a difference, a big difference in the Carrera GTs. I know of a few one-off colors that I'm sure really increase the value. And then there's, I'm trying to think of the guy's name. He's out of Indianapolis, a racer. He will actually take your Porsche Carrera GT, kind of like what Singer does, but he'll do a restoration on it and make it look absolutely fantastic. And you can do color change and everything else. Really, really cool work that he does. All right, next is a 911. Now this is a 2004 Porsche 911 GT2. So this is one that has appreciated. Now this is one, if you listen to the commenters, they really seem to like this car because it's the smaller Porsche 911 body style. It's very analog. Yes, it is 996 generation, and it does have the fried egg headlights, but it's such a great fun, pure sports car that this one is getting a lot of traction with the Porsche aficionados, and that's probably explaining why it's up 9.1%. Number one condition, $275,000. All right, I'm not going to show a picture of all these as I talk about them, but I do want to go through the top 10 from a valuation increase for the Porsches. Now, as a reminder, these are just the ones I pulled randomly, so it doesn't mean that I went through every single Porsche model and option. That would have just taken me forever. The 1995 Porsche 968 Club Sport is up 11.5%. That's $145,000 in mint shape. Actually, before we get to the 959s, which is a picture I just popped up here, the 1989 Porsche 911 Turbo, the 930, $330,000 now, up 13.8%. The 1983 Porsche 944, $50,000 in number one condition, up 16.3%. The 1971 Porsche 914 6 GT, so this is one of the GT cars, very rare, $450,000, up 20%. And now for the Porsche 959 Sport, this is what's really interesting is you have the Sport and you have the Comfort. Now this is similar to what I just said about the 918s. There's an option, the Weissach option added like $800,000 to the value today of the 918. Same difference with the Sport versus the Comfort. People are going for the rarer options, whether they like them or not. So the Sport is up 21.8%, $4.75 million. Now the Comfort, the quote-unquote base car, $2.6 million. So to have that Sport versus a Comfort, over $2 million more in valuation on the Porsche 959, and that is up 23.8%. All right, we have four more here, some pretty interesting ones. The next one is the 1995 Porsche 928. The example I'm showing you is from 1993. GTS, so the best of the best of this generation. The manual version adds a ton of money. $265,000, up 29.3% over the latest 12 months. The one I'm showing you right now was from Monterey, RM Sotheby's a couple years ago. Manual, very low mileage, black, gray interior. It broke the bank. I want to say it sold for over $300,000. All right, three more to go. We've got the 1998 Porsche 911, just the base Carrera S. Apparently, I did not pull a picture of that one. So that's $290,000, up 36.8%. Now, this is probably the most surprising one on my list. Number two, the original 911, the 1964 Porsche 911. Yes, there were a handful of those built, and there's minor differences between the 1964 and the 1965. Up 49.8%, $1.35 million. Now, why is this? I just think it's the discriminating collector. If you're collecting 911s, if you're serious, you need to have a 64, and there's just so few of them out there that drives the price up. Now, I do have a funny story. I was outside of my local Home Depot one day, and a guy pulls up in a 911. I don't remember what year, probably like a 2015 or something. And he and his wife got out, and I just was like, hey, that's a nice 911. And I, being a RM Sotheby's car specialist, I asked him, are you just into Porsches or are you into other cars? And he said, oh, I've got another Porsche at home. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. Well, what is it? He said, it's a 1964 Porsche 911. He's like, I don't know if I'll ever get it done. It's kind of a basket case. And his wife literally scoffed at him. She's like, yeah, you'll never get that car done. And foolish me, I did not get the guy's phone number. I should have gone see it. I don't think they live that far away from me, but I don't know that I'll ever figure out where that car is or what it is or if it really is a 64. My gut says it's not really a 64. It's probably a 65 because they're just so darn rare. All right, number one of the information that I pulled from a valuation standpoint that has increased the most in the last 12 months is the 1973 Porsche Carrera RS 2.7 liter. Let's see, mint shape, $1 million. It's gone up 50% in the last 12 months. So that is really quite amazing. Again, rare, performance oriented, the best Porsche from the 70s. You could argue the best 911 potentially from that entire generation. Just an incredible, beautiful car. Showing one right now online that's white with the blue details and graphics and rocker panels and all that kind of stuff. Just an absolutely stunning, beautiful car. Has a little ducktail spoiler, which we all love. All right. Well, that's it for this week for the Collector Car Podcast. As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And I'll talk to all of you next week.